Guten Yardening, everybody! Well, we have had a wonderful season of sweet potato harvest so far, and what that means for us is that we have quite a few in storage to eat over the next few months and hopefully last us until spring. Now, one of the things that's true about sweet potatoes, in addition to being delicious, is that they are quite versatile. And if you have a crop that you have a large amount that you've been able to harvest, you don't want to run into getting bored with what you're eating. So it's important to also vary the recipes you use. Today, we're going to show you a really simple sweet potato recipe, one that we've been making for the last couple of years that we absolutely love. Our whole family loves them, and that is some sweet potato flatbread. This sweet potato flatbread is not only incredibly delicious, it's unbelievably simple. You really only need two ingredients, sweet potato and flour. But what we found is that adding a little bit of yogurt makes a difference in the flavor and the texture that we really enjoy. So 3 ingredients and a little bit of oil, and you have yourself some amazing flatbread. We're going to walk you through this, and hopefully you'll see it, you'll like it, and you'll want to try it yourselves. So this is a Beauregard sweet potato, but it doesn't really matter which variety of sweet potato you use, or at least we found it doesn't really matter which variety. And you can steam this in its skin, which would hold the most nutrients, I suppose, but we're going to peel it and chop it up into about 1/2-inch pieces so that it steams just a little bit faster. And we're going to use this in our steamer, so let's check it out. Now this is a large size sweet potato, but you could really pick any size sweet potato that you have and vary the amount of flour and or yogurt if you want to use yogurt, depending on how much of this flatbread you want to make. So this one needs to be chopped up. Here we go. Not too shabby, huh? So we're going to take this and we're going to put this into our steamer and get it going. It's probably going to take about 30 minutes or so for this to steam and get nice and soft. Here's our steamer. Got a nice boil happening in here. About another 25 minutes or so. All right, let's go ahead and check these and see if they are soft enough. Oh yes, nice and soft. So we're going to take these out and we're going to mash them up. Ooh, steamy. And once we get these all mashed up, we're going to add our flour and our yogurt to the mixture. Now you're supposed to have 1 cup of sweet potatoes and 1 cup of flour. We use this as a starting point. Like a lot of our recipes, we're not exact in the measurements. So this might be more than 1 cup, probably just a little bit more than 1 cup. And so we'll start with that 1 cup of flour, and then we'll add as needed. All right, that's nice. Nice and mashed up. Let's go ahead and put in our yogurt. Here we have our yogurt. It's a 1/4 cup. Again, you can use the Greek style yogurt, but it's just plain yogurt, not vanilla, no flavor added to it, just plain yogurt. A 1/4 cup. We're going to mix that in just a little bit, and then we're going to add our flour to the mix. And here we have our flour, 1 cup of flour. The brand doesn't really matter. I guess it's your preference, but we always use unbleached flour, although you can use whole wheat flour as well. I like the taste of this unbleached a little bit better. And we're just going to mix it until it starts to form a dough. And we'll see if it's still a little wet. We'll add a little bit more flour. And if not, we'll be in good shape. So we're going to mix this up a little bit longer. Look at this mixing up really nicely, just coming together quickly as a dough. It doesn't take much, and you can see it's still a little bit sticky. I wasn't handling the sweet potatoes with my hands because that'd be pretty hot at this point, but it looks like we're going to have to add, based on the stickiness, add a little bit more flour. So we're going to add them in about 1/4 cup increments as needed. It should start to cool down at this point. And so I don't want to mix it too much. We don't want to mess too much with it. Just like any other dough that you're making, you overmix and you get a problem with it getting tough. So we're just going to start using our hands a little bit, and that'll also give us a good feel for what is too sticky or just right. in terms of this dough, but it still feels like it needs, yep, a little bit more flour. All right, it's starting to look really nice. It's feeling really nice now. So we're gonna take it out of this container and I'm gonna show you how we handle rolling it out next. All right, we're gonna pre-flour our surface just a little bit and then bring our dough over. All right, we have our dough and I like to just shape it almost into a bit of a log of sorts. It makes it easier to cut in even segments. I always run my knife through some cold water first and then dry it off. Seems to cut a little bit better. I like to cut it into 7 pieces. You can cut it into however many you like, but I just happen to like the number 7 a lot. And the size of the piece will of course determine the size of the flatbread. I like to put a little bit of flour here because as we pick up our pieces, we dip them in flour, it'll make it easier to not stick to our hands as we roll them into a little bit of a ball. So something like this. And then, you know, you can make a decision as to what you want to do. I've seen people pinch them on the outside to try to help them maintain their round shape. You can certainly do that. But we are going to use a roller on these to roll them out nice and thin before we put them on the stove. All right, I'm going to get the rest of these ready to go. All right, you can see our 7 flatbreads back here, and we added a little bit more flour up here so we can roll them out flat without them sticking anywhere. In our pan here, we're going to add about a tablespoon of the extra virgin olive oil. This is some organic olive oil, but we've used other kinds of oil as well, canola oil, vegetable oil to make these before. And we're going to heat this on a medium heat until it gets nice and runny, until the oil gets nice and runny. And then we'll add our first flatbread. All right, let's get our first one rolled out. We set it on the flour here, flip it over, and then just work it and turn. And you can see the size of flatbread that just one of these makes. It's a nice size. And you can see the level of thickness down here is what, about a 1/16 of an inch when we've got it to the thickness we want to put on the stove. All right, you can see the oil is nice and runny now. Feel the heat coming up off of it. So we're going to drop our first flatbread in. And typically we like to run about a minute per side. And then we just check it regularly to see what's needed. So we're going to let this sit in here for about 1 minute before we flip it. All right, it's been about a minute. So let's take a look. Nice easy flip. And you can see some browning already happening here. Again, if we need to flip it a few more times, I'm not worried about that. It's not going to impact the taste. We'll get this other side going for another minute. But one of the things you should notice, and maybe you can see it here, I can push a little bit, it's starting to bubble up a little bit, and that lets you know that it's cooking on the inside as well. So you're not going to get anything raw. In another minute, let's flip it and see. You can see the skillet's starting to heat up. I'm going to turn the heat back just a little bit, and we'll let it cook on the other side again. Again, a few flips, and I'll tell you that while I'm doing this, I typically go over and start to roll out my next flatbread so that I'm ready to go right back into the skillet when this one's done. All right, both sides. Nicely done. Done in the middle. I'm going to take this out of the skillet and I'm going to show you where I keep them as I'm preparing. All right, next flatbread in. And here's how I'm keeping my flatbread for now. I have them in a kitchen towel in a bowl so that I can preserve some of the warmth and also wrap them up a little bit while we're waiting. Now, it'll start to dry out after a short period of time, after 1 or 2 of these, and so I do replenish the olive oil. The olive oil is one of the healthier oils anyway, and so I don't have a problem adding a little bit more olive oil just to keep it so that it's cooking nicely through, just like that. And doesn't that look tasty? Now, we haven't tried this before, but one of the things I've considered doing when making this is adding a little bit of garlic or something else for flavoring. We like it just as is, just straight sweet potato, a little bit of yogurt, and flour, but I think that would be pretty simple to do as well. All right, we're on our last piece of flatbread here, and as we're wrapping up, the whole process probably took me about 55 minutes. It takes 3 to 4 minutes for each piece of flatbread, and then there's that initial time of preparing the sweet potato. And again, you can prepare that as a whole sweet potato without taking the peel off, and then cut it up and mash it up accordingly afterward, or do it the way I did if you wanted to be a little bit faster, because there's more surface area for the steam to get to. Regardless, we're not losing very many nutrients, and so this is a much healthier flatbread than you might otherwise be eating. I'll show you the texture in just a second. Let's have a peek at our end result. And you can see by the texture, this is a really nice flatbread. We can pull it apart here. Look at that. Oh, it's still hot to the touch. And we're going to eat this. You can eat this by itself. You can eat this at breakfast, lunch, dinner. It doesn't really matter. We love to eat this with hummus. You could eat this with just about anything. It is absolutely sensational. We hope you enjoyed this video just as much as our children are about to enjoy eating this. While I've been making it, I've had several requests to please allow them to consume some of this, but I told them they had to wait until the video was done. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, leave us a comment, don't forget to share and subscribe, and as always, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.